أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشيائهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم يا أبا عبد الله. يا أبا إني سلم لمن سالمكم وهرب لمن هاربكم إلى يوم القيامة، ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية قاتبا، ولعن الله ابن مرجان، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي، پدر و مادرم بفداد آقا جانم. لقد عظم مساوی بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله. يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاته وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وتقربوا إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشيائهم وأتباعهم إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب الثاري وأن يرزقني طلب ثاركم مع إمام مهدي هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يؤتيني بمساوي بكم أفضل ما يؤتي مصابا بمصيبتك مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكبر اللئيم ابن اللئيم على لسانك ولسان النبي صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف في نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فزائف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليهم وعليهم السلام. اللهم لنا أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا ما تمرّ. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. إذن بگیر امشب شب یتیم نوازیست. السلام علی الحسین وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين. یه بار دیگه به نیابت از امام رضا السلام علی الحسین. بسم رب الحسن از خیم قمر می آید. بسم رب الحسن از خیم قمر می آید. کیست این ماه که حیدر به نظر می آید. این چنین که سوی میدان خطر می آید. پدر ازرق شامی است که در می آید. از جلال و جبروتش همه می ترسیدم. بعد 10 سال همه روی حسن را دیدم. این امامه که به سر بسته برای حسن است. تون که رو نیست شعارش زرهش پیرهنش. ای جمل زاده بدان قاسم ما صف شکن است کیف کرده است حسین از رجز فاطمیش جان فدای هنر رزم بنی هاشمیش مثل باباش که با غیظ و غضب می جنگد گاه گاهی جلو و گاه عقب می جنگد یک تنه با همه یلهای عرب می جنگید همه گفتند که این تشنه عجب می جنگد خسته شد دور و برش آه چه غوغایی شد سل باران شد سل باران شدن تشنه تماشایی شد نیزه از هر طرفی سوی فدک میخورد و مثل زهرا وسط کوچه کتک میخورد و نیزه مانند نوک میخ به پهلوش افتاد بی وضو دست به پیچ و خمگی سو افتاد دیدن قاسم ابن الحسن رفت پشت خیمه همه وجودشو غم فرا گرفته قاسم هم عزیز دلم چی شده چرا داری گریه میکنی سر و بالا باید عموم منو بزرگ حساب نمیکنه من هرچی التماسش کردم فقط از عمون نشنیدم همچی که زانو بغل گرفت یه وقت دستش خورد به بازو بند و تعویزی که بابایش دور بازوش بسته بود فرموده بود پسرم هر وقت غمای عالم به دلت نشست این دستو باز کن دلتو آروم میکنه قاسم به خودش گفت هیچ وقتی مثل الان من اینقدر غم دیده و گرفته نبودم بازش کرد تو اوج قصه و قصه و غم یه تبسمی به لباش نشست ببینم عمو میتونه ای دست خطو ببینه بازم به من نبگه با عجله آمد کنار خمه سادات عمه جون قربونت برم دست خط بابامو برات آوردم عمه سادات نگاه کرد منقلب شد عمه تو هم بیا اگه تو باشی یه دست غتم باشه عمو دیگه به من نمیگه اومد خدمت ابی عبدالله این نامه و تعویز و تا ابی عبدالله دید روایت میگه و جعلا یبکیان حتی غشی علیهما آخی این عمو و برادر زاده هم دیگر رو در آغوش گرفتن، این قد گریه کرده، دیدن امام حسین یه طرف روی زمین افتاد، قاسم یه طرف روی زمین افتاد، از حال رفتن رفقای شب عاشورا. وقتی قاسم از سید الشهدا سؤال کرد عمو به من بگو فردا منم کشته میشم یا نه، ابی عبدالله فرمود عزیز برادرم مرگ نزد تو چگونه است؟ فرموده باشد احلا من الاسل. ابی عبدالله فرمود آری عزیزم قربونت برم، فردا نه تنها تو حتی شیر خاره حرم رو هم میکشه. آی قاسمم یه خبری بهت بدم، تو رو میکشن، به بلای عظیمیم مبتلا میشی. اما حرف قاسم این بود، هنوز تو ذهنش عمو داره میگه فردا شیرخواره حرمم میکشن. صدا زده عمو به من بگو مگه فردا به خیمه ها هم حمله میکنن؟ ابی عبدالله سرشو پایین انداخت، چیزی نگفت، اشاره کنم حتی غشی علیهم این جای تاریخ کسی ننوشته چه حرفی بین ابی عبدالله و قاسم رد و بدل شد. اما به گمانم ابی عبدالله به قاسمش جواب سؤال دیشبشو گفته، بغلش گرم قاسمم یادت سوال کردی به خیمه هم حمله میکنن یا نه؟ آره عمو جانم قربونت برم، به من بگم به خیمه هم حمله میکنن. این یک جلوه از بلای عظیمی است که ابی عبدالله فرمود رفقا درد ناموس بلای عظیمی است، قاسم حق داره غش کنه. وقت من تمامه، معذرت میخوام، خیلی از حرفا رو خدا میدونه نمیتونم بگم، وقت نیست. آی آی آخرین سلام امشبم بگو به نیابت قاسم ابن الحسن، السلام علی الحسین و علی علی ابن و علی اولاد الحسین و علی اصحاب الحسین ما تمرها اللهم خص انت اول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ بي اولا ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لن يزيد خامسا ولن عبيد الله ابن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمران وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة حسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا معجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام.
من آبم هنوز شرمنده کودک ربابم، هنوز یاد القمه به پیچ و تابم، هنوز یاد لب خشک تو کبابم. من آب شدم دیدی جلوی مادرت خراب شدم، برا چی از لبای تو جواب شدم. من آب شدم یا ابا عبدالله علی الدنیا بعد کلفا، یا ابا عبدالله علی الدنیا بعد کلفا، یا ابا با نظم لا علی الدنیا بعد کلفا، یا ابا عبدالله علی الدنیا بعد کلفا، یا ابا عبدالله علی الدنیا بعد کلفا. من خاکم که خاک بر سر از یه جسم چاکم، هنوز یاد خاک صورتت هلاکم. 3 روز تنها کفن یه جسم پاکم، غبار شدم تو رو بغل گرفتم و مزار شدم، با چادر عقیل هم جوار شدم، غبار شدم یا ابا عبدالله علی الدنیا بعد کلفا، یا ابا این دستا بیاد بالا. علی الدنیا بعد کلفا، یا ابا علی 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 الدنیا بعد کلفا، یا ابا آی جانم. یه دونه دیگه شو بگم. صدا سینه زدنت بیاد. من بادم فقط یه بار تو زندگی وایسادم، وقتی که بین زلف تو افتادم موهای سوختت نمیره از یادم من آه شدم بعد تو حیرون توی قتلگاه شدم شونه موی طفل بی پناه شدم من آه شدم یا ابا عبدالله علی یا
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, everybody will keep the silence. Please recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس أنتم الفقراء إلى الله والله هو الغني الحميد. يا أيها الناس أنتم الفقراء إلى الله والله هو الغني الحميد. إن يشأ يذهبكم ويأتي بخلق جديد. وما ذلك على الله بعزيز. ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى
وإن تدع مثقلة إلى حملها لا يحمل منه شيء ولو كان ذا قربى إنما تنذر الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب وأقاموا الصلاة ومن تزكى فإنما يتزكى لنفسه وإلى الله المصير. وما يستوي الأعمى والبصير ولا الظلمات ولا النور ولا الظل والحرور وما يستوي الأحياء ولا الأموات إن الله يسمع من يشاء وما أنت بمسمع من في القبور إن أنت إلا نذير إنا أرسلناك بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا إنا أرسلناك بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وإن من أمة إلا خلا فيها نذير. صدق الله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of Masjid Nabi, I welcome you all to another night of our special Muharram programs here. Inshallah, everybody is doing great, and all of your a'mal and azadaris are accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So inshallah, we'll have a brief fundraising program tonight, hopefully for 10-15 minutes. My brother Haj Aghay Tahiri is gonna inshallah take care of that for us. I just wanted to thank everybody who helped us to set up this tent, the canopies, and everything else that is going on, all of the reciters and everyone else. And also, especially, I want to thank the sponsor of our dinner tonight. Inshallah, that is dedicated to Marhum Seyyed Muhammad Hussein Al-Qazwini. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless his soul. For the soul of this marhum and all of the marhumin from this community and your families, please recite a Fatiha after a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So inshallah, Haj Aghay Tahiri is going to take over, and after the fundraising we'll continue with the speech. Inshallah, I think they're going to show it on the TV, how you can go to the website, make donations. There will be a number where you can text if you don't want to raise your hand and pledge to make any donations. Also, if that number can work if you want to send it to Zelle. So inshallah, brothers will put it on the TV. And without delay, let's welcome Haj Aghay Tahiri with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
خواهران برادران عزیز سلام علیکم. As you guys know me, I don't go for the little small salam alaikum. I need the hard one. Brother and sister, salam alaikum. Thank you very much. Yes, tonight we're going to talk about the household expense. This is our house, and the leadership of the Masjed did a wonderful job to bring us outside, so in the open space, so for the COVID situation, then it's not going to be inside and plenty air is flowing through. God bless them all. Before I do my fundraising, I'd like to mention that with all the diseases coming up, with all the COVID, we don't even know how long we're going to last. So this is the best opportunity for us to do something for our akhirat. I just want to mention very briefly one of the saying of the Imam Ali, peace be upon him. They said Imam Ali with a bunch of his followers went to the graveyard, and he mentioned that to his follower that if these people are in the graveyard, ask us how is the situation in the earth. We will tell them that don't worry about it, that all your property is taken over with someone else, divided, and also all of your houses are occupied, your children are doing fine, and so forth. But if they said, if these people in the graveyard could answer or could say something, would say that from us, tell all the people that are alive, bring something with you, because that is the only thing is important to you. That's what you have. Tonight, inshallah, we're going to start doing a fundraising. And Brother Kazem, where are you? Could you stand up, please? And a lot of brothers. How many people they already have donated over there? Ale? Okay. Okay, Chash. Okay, we have it looked like we have 2,500. Cousin, someone give me a check. I think it says $2,000 on it, and the person doesn't want to mention his name. If you would come and take this here, And I would like to know who is the next person who would like to raise his hand from $1 to whatever they can afford and to pay. And inshallah, we're going to make it very quickly. Go ahead. Okay, فارسی هم بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. Okay, I was requested to say. و من گفتن که فارسی بگم. چشم. خدمت شما عرض کنم اون گفتم قبلا میگن حضرت علی با یه گروهی از اصحابش رفت توی قبرستونی. حضرت علی به اینا گفت اگر که اینایی که توی این قبرستون دفن شدن سوالی میکردن اما میگفتن که چه خبره، جواب این بود که تمام مالتو قسمت کردن، بچه ها دارن میخورن و مغازت واضح یکی دیگه گرفته و ممکنم هست که خیلی اتفاقات دیگه افتاده باشه که هیچ اثری برایتون نداره. و اینم که گفتن که اگر که از نظر فرمون اگر که اینایی که مرده هستن بخواد نمای سوال بکنن میگن که به تمام مردم زنده بگین تنها چیزی که میتونی بیاری با خودت اعمالته. تمام چیزی که با خودت وقتی که این دنیا رو ترک کردی بردی اون دونیشن و اون کارهایی که خود خوبی که در زندگیت کردی برای خودت میمونه. این حرفا البته اینم بگم که من خودم به یه جای رسیده بودم که به خاطر کنسر من فقط 20% امید موندن بودم و 80% رفتنی بودم. ولی که من فقط یه فکر میکردم که کاش که بیشتر در راه خدا میرفتم و کاش که کارهای دیگه میکردم که بتونم این چمدونا رو خالی اون دنیا نرم. حالا از این برادران خواهران عزیز لطفا دستتون رو بلند کنین بگین، هر کی میخواد اشکال نداره بگین، چون بقیه هم بگن. اون حاج آقا بفرمایید چقدر میخواد. اون آقا دستش بلند کرد اون گوشه، لطف بفرمایید. $200 خدا دست شما درد نکنه. Thank you very much for $200 donation there. Next. We want to make it wrap it up pretty quickly, and there's a number in here. You could steal it. You could get the number, that foundation, and the number is there. You could call them and give it to them. You could send them to the mail. However you can donate, we'll take it. This tent in here and the dinners and all the electricities, these are the cost, and we need to pay it. This is our own home. If we don't support it, I don't know, somebody else gonna from the street and pay for it. I would like someone else raise their hand and say something about some donation. Come on. $300 این برادر اینجا برو اینجا برادر بگیم چی میگه. نفر به خواهران از اون گوشه کسی دست بلند میکنه تو خواهران بقى. $100 نفر بعد. آقا $300 برادر شد. کسی دیگه نفر خواهران که بخواد دست بلند کنه من میبینم شما رو نه خواستید دست بلند کنین خجالت نکشید. جانم اونجا برو حسن آقا رو بگیر اونجا. برای اونایی که دونیت کردن یک صلوات بلند بفرستین. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد. جانم اوکی آقا در این حال میگن که سبد هم بگردونین که هر کی میخواد دونیت کنه بنده تو سبد. اوکی کسی دیگه هست؟ خواهره کسی هست اونجا که بخواد کسی هستی که بخواد امشب یه دونیتی بکنه برای مسجد که لاغر شریک باشه به این خرج و به این مخارجی که اینجا ما داریم و سعی کنیم که این چراغ رو روشن بذاریم برای خودمون کامیونیتی باشه. کاظم جان خواهر عزیزم اونجا دست بلند کردن. یه خواهر از اونجا من بفرمایید. برای سلامتی اون خواهر عزیز صلوات بلند خط کنین. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد. خجالت نکنید آقا خیلی مشکله. ببین خیلی قدرت میخواد، خیلی ایمان میخواد کسی بتونه دستشو بکنه جیبش و خرج کنه در راه خدا. اینه که اونایی که کردن میدونن که بکنی 10 برابرش برمیگرده. نفر بعد اونجا هستش آقا کاظم بفرمایید. اللهم محمد یک صلوات هم برای برادر عزیزون بفرستین بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل علی. کسی دیگه نیست که بخواد دستشو بلند کنه که ما برگردیم به پروگراممون انشاءالله. برای برادرمون صلوات بلند خرج کنین. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد. برادر دیگه $1000 بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد. اگه میتونین به این تکست کنین، میتونین زیل کنین، میتونین بسکت هم که داره میاد، هر چقدر هم که بندازین کمک کردین و این برای شما یه اجری میشه. و خواهش میکنم هر کی دیگه هست کاظم جان حاج مصطفی why don't you go pick up the other one over here okay Al-Qasim is one over here too. حاج کاظم اونجا رو بفرمایید. 500 300 یک صلوات بلند برایشون بفرستین. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد. عجل. خواهران عزیز کسی دیگه هست؟ برای $100 صلوات بلند خط کن. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد. از راش ببین کسی دیگه نیست که بده. این مسئولیت تک تک ماست که این جور مسجد بکشیم. متاسفانه در زمان کرونا مسجد که بسته بود هیچ که دونیشن نداد و خیلی از اینایی که اوزان بودن پول ندادن. بالاخره بعد پول برق هم میدادن، پول بالاخره چیزای دیگه هم میدادن. $350 بلند صلوات خرج کن. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد. Anyway, we need to make sure that we keep this light on, and it is important that every single one of us to participate. Go ahead. $100. Salawat buland. Allah. This masjid is providing dinners for everyone and all the facilities and all the expenses. Somehow, the leadership of this masjid need to recover this, and it's every one of us obligation to do so. Anyone else is, please raise your hand. بفرمایید. بفرمایید. $100 برای سلامتی خواهر گرامی صلوات بلند خرج کنین. $200. Two brothers, $300 بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. اللهم صل علی محمد. باور کنین هر کی بده چندین برابرش برمیگرده. اینو به خاطر خدا بدین و خدا میدونین که وقتی بخواد reciprocate بکنه if God gonna give it back God's generation is a lot better than us. A Zelle, somebody Zelle $2,000. Total of the Zelle that just came through the website is $2,000. Anyone else? Okay. But you're telling me we need to make sure that a little bit go faster, and if you guys want to get back, I'm not going to go until I get this money back. If you guys want to get back to the program, you better raise your hand and donate, so make sure we covered our expenses here. Bar Muhammad Al Muhammad Salawat. Don't worry about it. $5, $10, $100, 100,000 is all the same. Just make your donation. So be part of this community, that we're going to have this masjid for us open all the time. And inshallah, we're going to have more program coming up through the leadership of the masjid in the future. Before tomorrow is a Sunday. Please listen to me. Wishkon and listen, whatever you want to do. Tomorrow is a julus. We're going to start tomorrow. We are going to, of course, the volunteer people, they're going to come at 10:30. We're going to prepare. The area is in the Broadway and 7th. And, of course, if you need the information, get it from any of us in here. And tomorrow, we're going to start with the namaz. And after a couple of the small lectures, and then we're going to do the Sinazani and Azadari. An Iranian group also come in with the alam and all of the other facility with the chain and Zanjir. So, because of the COVID, we are making sure that nobody is allowed to pass the food around, because all the food has to be covered. You cannot have open food at all. So what we are doing is we have a 10 table set up. We order 2,500 food already packaged into the boxes, to go boxes that we're going to hand out, and plus a drink and goodies for the children. And make sure that show up, whether you come and participate or stay in the side, watch the rest of the people what to do. I would like to see you guys all tomorrow, inshallah. And tell a friend and come over there, and let's have the Labbaik Ya Hussein in the heart of the Los Angeles. Bar Muhammad Al Muhammad Salawat. Anybody else? کسی دیگه هست که بخواد یه دونیشنی بکنه امشب اینجا؟ من کسی رو میس نکردم اینجا که. Did I miss anybody? Okay, you got, if you don't want to raise your hand, it's fine. The Zil and also the bank, you could welcome to do so. Bar Muhammad, Al Muhammad Salawat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Jawad, for the health and well-being of Jawad al-Tahiri and his family. Please recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You have the numbers there if you want to make any donations. 909-772-8787. You can send your donations through Zelle. Also, if you go to our website hijrat.org, you'll see that at the corner there is a button for donations. You'll see it there, and Agha Shahrukh is showing you how to do it. If you click on donations anytime, if you in another time you want to make any donations, if you want to pay your dues, we can collect khums. If you have those kind of dues, we'll collect them. We have ijaza permissions from the Maharaja to do that. You can talk to Sister Musawi about that. If you want to make any donations, you can set it up for monthly donations. If you want to make, let's say, $10 per month, $20 per month. Inshallah, we'll show the Zelle number again. Somebody wants to make donations, but again, hijrat.org, donate on the top corner. You can always make that donations. You can pledge to make monthly, like any other bills that you make. Why not paying like $10, $20? Just the food that we are serving here each night costs us $10, around $10 per box. So just to give you a number, all of the tents that here you see a couple of $1,000. The guests that we invite, the speakers, the reciters, and many of those things, the electricity, the mortgage, many other things that you cannot think of. So just be mindful of that. This is just run by your donations. We have some great sponsors who give more, but whatever you can give, make sure you are part of this, inshallah. Thank you so much. Again, the number is 909-772-8787. I really don't want to take much more of your time. Inshallah, our program will continue until Saturday 21st. We are so privileged and honored to have Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin Seyyed Ali Musawi from San Diego with us. Everybody has been giving me very positive feedback. We are really enjoying and learning from his wisdom. So let's welcome him for another speech with your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من شر الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أعوذ بالله من شر الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Before I begin with tonight's speech, I just wanted to mention a few points that just during the time that there was a fundraiser going on, I was thinking about a few different things. Sometimes parents, they come and they ask the question that what do we do so that our children, they become more religious? We live in a society where the people, they do not really share some of our values. And we're worried. What should we do? When people ask the question, it actually reminds me of some of the things which I have seen in the Middle East. For example, during the Arba'een walk in Iraq, one of the things that you would see is that you would see parents teaching their children to serve the Zawar of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And so you would see this child of 3 years of age, 4, 5, 6, 7, young boys and girls. You would see them that they're in the middle of the path as the Zawar are walking, the visitors are walking towards Karbala, and they are serving those visitors with whatever their parents have given them. They have a tray in their hands, they're serving, and they're calling out, "O visitors of Hussein, come, let us serve you." At first, I thought it looks very cute. That's the truth of it. But even when we go beyond the cuteness and we really see what the parents are doing for the children, what they're really doing is they're inculcating, they're teaching this idea of serving Islam from that young age. And you find that when a child takes that from a young age, it's going to have effects all the way down the road. They're never going to forget that. One of the best things that we can do, my brothers and sisters, is accustoming young children in serving in the path of Islam. Whether it's at the Masjid on nights like this, or just in general, this idea that you have this religion, you have this creator, you have this prophet, you have these imams, your duty is to serve. You know, one of the beautiful things that I would see in Iran, and I've never really seen it in the West, I've never really experienced it in the West, is that sometimes when there was nothing else to do, all of the other jobs would be taken at the masjid. Some people, they would come and they would simply take the pairs of shoes and they would put them next to one another and organize them. They really wanted to serve, and so they would find anything that they could do in the cause of Islam. I just wanted to mention this point. May Allah bless all of the volunteers, all of the donors, every individual that is working behind the scenes to make programs like this possible, to help keep these masajids open. I know that during these months and during this year, it's been very difficult with the pandemic. Many centers are struggling. They don't know how they're going to pay the bills at the end of the month. May Allah bless each and every one of you, inshaAllah. Please recite a salawat. One of the topics which we have been discussing over the past few nights was the topic of how we can enhance our spirituality. Oftentimes when we think of spirituality, the mind, it instantly goes to the more obvious, to the more outward. And we begin to think of things such as the prayer, the fast, the charity, the giving to orphans. We begin to think of this idea that if I want to become closer to Allah, I have to go through this pathway. I need to increase my prayers. I need to increase my fasts. I need to increase my salat al-layl. And as we discussed, these are things which are critical, my brothers and sisters. They're important. They're the foundation of our spirituality in the religion of Islam. But alongside these things, we also have other attributes, other characteristics, other practices which are just as important in this journey towards Allah as the salat and the sawm and the zakat. But we never think about these things, we never focus on these things, and so as a result, it's not really in our collective conscience, we neglect it. Over the past 2 nights, we've been going over the idea of humility, the importance of humility and how critical it is in becoming spiritually connected with Allah. Tonight, my brothers and sisters, I'm going to be going over another characteristic which is just as important. When you look at the verses of the Quran, when you look at the ahadith about this characteristic, it's almost unbelievable how much importance Allah gives it. Honestly, if it wasn't in the Quran, if it was not in the ahadith, I might doubt what's going on and what's being said to me. The topic that we're going to be discussing tonight, my brothers and sisters, is the topic of ihsan towards our parents. Goodness towards our parents. Now, instantly you're thinking to yourself, it's a good topic, it's a great idea, it's something good that we should be doing. But what connection does this have to spirituality, to becoming closer to Allah? One of the fascinating things about this idea of goodness to parents is that we live in a time period where it's not valued really at all. But if you go back in human history, one of the things that we find is that every single successful society and civilization, one of the things which they focused upon was this idea of our duty towards our parents. Every single society, everyone that survived, they had this idea that if somebody has served you, then you have a responsibility, you have a duty to serve them as well in return. But we live in a time period when we see it. When the child reaches 18, 19, 20, 21, he's gone, she's gone. And if they call, they might just call just to make sure you're still alive, to make sure the inheritance is still active. It hasn't been squandered by these Indian scammers. We see this in the wider society. In regards to this idea, my brothers and sisters, first let us begin by going to the words of the Holy Quran. Because if I want to know the reality of a subject, the reality of something, the best place that I can find out about it is the verses of the Holy Quran. When we look at the verses of the Quran, we find a number of strange ayat. Really strange. Really strange. In one of the verses of the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُ إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Allah, He says, your Lord has decreed, He has commanded, He has ordered you that you should not worship anyone other than Allah. And He has enjoined kindness to the parents, goodness to the parents. And the verse continues, إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبْرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. The verse continues, should they reach old age, either one of them or both of them, do not even say to them, uff, and do not chide them, but speak to them words of kindness, words of generosity. When we're looking at this verse, my brothers and sisters, number one question, when we say goodness to parents, what are we talking about? What does it mean? It's any time in the society that you are living in, you serve your parents in a way where others, when they look at you, they say you have been good to your parents. You're a good son, you're a good daughter. It could be in words, it could be in service, it could be in financial support, it could be in calling them, it could be a number of things. But when people say, this is a good son, this is a good daughter, that's the meaning of goodness to one's parents. Now what does the word uff mean? We see that, right? It says, and do not even say uff to them. Uff is not an English word. As far as I know, I don't think it's a Farsi word either. What does uff mean? That Allah is saying, do not even say uff to your parents. You know, in English, when we get frustrated, we sometimes say, right? We use that kind of word. In the Arabic language, my brothers and sisters, the least word which shows your annoyance, which shows that you don't like something, you're disappointed in something, is uff. There is no word which is less than this in the Arabic language. Allah is saying, and there's going to be times when your parents annoy you, they bother you. Allah is saying, do not even say uff to them. The least, the lightest word in showing that discomfort, that annoyance with your parents. But there is something strange about this verse, isn't there? I don't know if you picked up on it. There is something bizarre about this verse. What is it? If you look at this verse, when it begins with the idea of Tawheed. It says that your Lord has commanded that you are not to worship anyone other than Allah. So it begins with Tawheed. But what is strange is that it then takes the concept of Tawheed and it connects it to the idea of ihsan towards parents. How? How do you connect these two concepts? Because we know that Tawheed is the foundational aspect of Islam. It's why the prophets were sent. It's why the Quran was revealed. All of the struggles of the Holy Prophet, it was for what? It was to establish monotheism. We're all monotheists. We all know the importance of this. What is Allah doing here? He's saying that just as monotheism is the foundation of your faith, this idea of kindness to the parents is just as important. It's not less. Subhanallah. What's the greatest sin, my brothers and sisters? In our religion, the greatest sin is shirk. Associating with Allah, worshipping gods other than Allah. Allah is combining this concept of Tawheed and He's saying, I'm attaching it in importance to this idea of ihsan towards your parents. This is verse number 1. Another verse, when we begin to read this verse, again, unbelievable, shocking. It says we have enjoined man concerning his parents. What is Allah enjoining? What is He ordering? He says his mother carried him through weakness upon weakness. We all know how much mothers suffer when they are carrying a child. Discomfort upon discomfort. And his weaning, it took 2 years. For 2 years the baby is attached to the mother. Can't separate them. And even beyond that they're attached as well. But that 2 years is critical. Allah then completes the verse. What does He say? He says, give thanks to me and to your parents, and to me is going to be your return. What a strange verse. That Allah is taking the idea of shukr, of thankfulness to Allah, and He's saying, I'm going to connect it to the idea of thankfulness to your parents. How? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the creator who created me. He gave me food. He gave me shelter. He gave me everything. He created the entirety of the universe. Why is Allah connecting these two concepts together? My brothers and sisters, when we look at this, when we analyze this, one of the things that we realize is that if Allah gave you food, He gave it to you through whom? Through the efforts of your parents. If He gave you shelter, who did He give it through? He gave it through the efforts of your parents. If He gave you education, if He gave you religion, if He gave you the love of Imam Hussein, how did He give it to you? He gave it to you through the medium of your parents. If you don't show thankfulness to the parent, then are you really showing thankfulness to Allah? In one of the traditions, Imam Rida alayhi salam, he says that God has ordered that he and the mother and the father are to be given thanks. So whoever does not thank his parents, he has not in reality thanked Allah. And the verses continue. In one of the traditions, Imam Sadiq, he says, do not say even a word of contempt to your parents. Allah has forbidden it. Number one. Another verse, someone asks the Holy Prophet, he says, Ya Rasulullah, what are the rights of my mother and my father? The Holy Prophet, he doesn't explain to him the rights of his mother and father. He gives him a different kind of response. Do you know what he says? He says that those two, they are your paradise and your hell. It's an interesting way of introducing it, isn't it? Someone says, Ya Rasulullah, tell me about the rights of my mother and father. What should I do? He says, they are your paradise and your hell. Meaning what? Meaning that depending on how you treat them, you are building your paradise or you are building your hellfire. Hadith after hadith after hadith, verse after verse after verse, my brothers and sisters. But the question that I wanted to ask here is, why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving this much focus to parents? Why? I mean, we know it's a good thing, obviously. It's a good thing. But why with this kind of language? Why with these kinds of verses, with these kinds of traditions? Why is there this kind of a focus? My brothers and sisters, I wanted to explain a point tonight. When we look at the world around us, the world that we typically see is a world of cause and effect, physical. Yes? That's the world that we exist in, meaning that if I'm 18 years old and I'm broke and I need to make money, then I'm going to have to go through the physical world of cause and effect, unfortunately. What that means is that I'm going to have to go to university, or I'm going to have to go to trade school. I'm going to have to learn that skill set. I'm going to have to go and seek out a job. When I get the job, I'm going to have to struggle through the 9 to 5, and then as a result of that, my broke status will change. Physical, cause and effect. If I want to get married, I can't sit at home and do dua. I have to go and I have to seek and I have to search and I have to do research. And eventually, through those efforts of cause and effect, I'm going to be blessed with a partner. This is the way that the world works. But one of the things which we oftentimes forget about, we don't focus upon, and Allah, He mentions this, is that alongside the physical world of cause and effect, there is another world of cause and effect, which is the metaphysical. Meaning that just like I have to do things in a certain way in the physical to get things, to be blessed, to receive things, Allah has created a metaphysical world of cause and effect alongside, and these two things are intertwined. They're connected. When we look at the narrations that we have, some of the narrations, they say, if you are good to your relatives, then Allah is going to increase your life. How? How? I don't understand it. How is being good to your relatives going to increase your lifespan? Doesn't make any sense. It's a good thing. But how does it extend my life? If Allah says that at a baseline you are going to live 60 years, if I'm good to my relatives, how does my lifespan suddenly become 70, 80 years? 90 years, 100 years? How does that work? The answer, my brothers and sisters, is that alongside that physical world of cause and effect that we have to go through, and when we do certain things, it has certain definitive effects. Allah has that world of the metaphysical right alongside it. And when we do things in a certain way, it has powerful effects upon us. Now, when we look at the effect of being good to our parents, what do we find in the ahadith? One of the narrations where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he's speaking to his companions and he tells his companions, lucky is the one who is good towards his parents. Why, ya Rasulullah? He explains. He says, because Allah is going to extend his lifespan. Strange. If we are good towards our parents, we show them kindness, we serve them, Allah is going to extend our lifespan. In another tradition, Imam Hadi alayhi salam, he mentions, acting in an ill manner towards one's parents, it brings about poverty and disgrace. You know, sometimes I think back, and most likely for the young ones who were raised here, you've put your parents through the ringer. Maybe we can say this about kids everywhere. It's difficult raising kids. Especially in the teenage years where the kids are going wild, it's difficult. There's a lot of heartache that the parents go through. There's a lot of torment that the kids go through, sometimes extended for many years. Thinking back, maybe you can think of times that you hurt your parents. You worried your parents. When we think to the things that happen to us, the negative things, I wonder how many of those difficulties were caused because of this behavior towards our parents. We don't think about it. We don't connect the dots a lot of times. We say, okay, something bad happened, it was just luck. I've been working for years, saving for years, it was just bad luck. I went bankrupt. I wonder, in some situations, of course not all situations, where it was due to something that we had said, something that we had done, pain that we had put our parents through. My brothers and sisters, when we think about the Shuhada of Karbala, one of the questions that oftentimes comes up is, what did these individuals do to deserve such a high status in the eyes of Allah? A lot of times when we think about the Shuhada, we think that they were just lucky, they were just there in the right place at the right time, and somehow Allah blessed them with joining Imam Hussein and fighting in the cause of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But when we look at Islam as a religion, one of the things which is very clear is that there is a day-to-day effort of our actions which build up, and they build up over the weeks and over the months and over the years, and eventually they will culminate in something beautiful, a beautiful opportunity that Allah sees that we are worthy of. Karbala is nothing less than that. It's nothing less than individuals who on a day-to-day basis, they're working, they're pushing, they're striving, and eventually Allah blesses them with the ability to be with Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura. This spiritual practice of being good towards our parents, showing ihsan towards our parents, it's one of those things that unlocks doors, it unlocks spiritual secrets. It allows us to ascend to a place that we really could never imagine before. Here I wanted to mention a few stories, my brothers and sisters, of the effect that this idea of ihsan has in the lives of past individuals and past scholars. Please recite a salawat. Wa Muhammad. That was a little bit of a weak salawat. If you could recite an even louder salawat, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And let us recite a final and third salawat, inshallah, even louder. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In years past, my brothers and sisters, there was an individual by the name of Rajab Ali Khayyat. Some of you might have heard of the name of this individual. There's a book that was written in Farsi about this person, and it's actually been translated. If you look at alislam.org, you can find this book and you can read it in the English language. Rajab Ali Khayyat, who was he? He was an individual who had reached a very high rank spiritually, meaning that he could look at you and he could tell your spiritual state. He could see the good and the bad that you had done in your life. When we look at people, what do we see? We just see the everyday. We see the face, we see the eyes, we see the beard. He could see within, he could see the metaphysical reality. My brothers and sisters, one day, a young man approaches Rajab Ali Khayyat. He says, Rajab Ali, for the past 2 months, I've been having difficulty after difficulty, problem after problem. I came to you today so you could help me, teach me a dhikr, teach me a spiritual secret, something, anything, please. Because at the point that I'm at, I'm going bankrupt. My checks are bouncing. And you know, in Iran, what happens when your checks bounce? You go to jail. It's not like here. I don't know if it's still like that, but at that time you would go to jail. They had a debtor's jail, a debtor's prison. He says, it's going to be just a few more days. My life is going to be over. I'm going to lose everything and I'm going to end up in jail. Please help me. I'm desperate. Rajab Ali, he looks at this young man and he says, what I see is that your mother is upset with you. The young man looks, he says, Rajab Ali Khayyat, that's impossible. I live with my mother. She's happy with me. We're coexisting peacefully. We're not having any disputes. We're not having any problems. Everything is good. Rajab Ali says, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm seeing. The young man, he goes back home. The whole time he's thinking, is there something that I did? What is it which could have caused this? I'm on good terms with my mother. He goes home. He says, Nane, mother, please come and sit with me for a moment. The mother comes. She sits with this young man. He says, mother, are you upset with me? The mother says, why are you asking? It's a strange question. He says, look, just tell me the truth. Are you really upset with me? The mother responds and she says, "Yes, my son, I'm upset with you." He says, "What did I do? What was the situation which made you upset?" He says, or she says, "1 month ago, we were busy and we were sitting together eating lunch. When the lunch had finished, your wife began to clear the table, the sufra. I was sitting down, I didn't get up, and when you saw that, you begin to yell at me and you said, 'Mother, do you think that I have brought a servant into this house, that she works and you sit there lazing about?' She says, 'When you said this to me, it broke my heart. Because my entire life I had worked to serve you. I had worked so that you had a better life, an easy life. Now that I have become old, I don't have the energy. I don't have the ability to work anymore. When you said this, it really broke my heart. It hurt me.' The young man, he begins to kiss his mother's hands. He apologizes sincerely. He narrates that when that happened, from that very moment, my brothers and sisters, all of the problems which I had in my business, they completely disappeared overnight. And he says, when I thought back, when did these problems begin? What was the start date? He says they began on that same day when I began to mention this to my mother, when I mistreated my mother. My brothers and sisters, it's profound, the spiritual effects, the worldly effects, that when we deal with our parents in a certain way, it has these kinds of effects that we can't even imagine. But they're as real as that world of physical cause and effect. Another story. This story is from Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi. Who is Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi? I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have heard of his name. He's one of the really renowned scholars, and even today when you go to the holy city of Qom, you hear his name. The people, they know him even today, and they mention his scholarly works and his efforts, and just the kind of an individual that he was. Really one of the top scholars of the past 100 years. The story that is narrated is that there was a man who was working in the office of Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi. One week, the man's father, he comes to town from the village. And the man, he approaches Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi. He says, "Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, do you give me permission to go home a little bit early today?" Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, he says, "What is the reason that you want to go home early today?" He says that my father has come from the village. I want to go and I want to be with him. I haven't seen him in a long time. Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, he becomes happy at hearing this. And he says, "Very well, this is a great thing that you're doing. But before you go, let me just tell you a very short story." He says, when I was a young child, Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, when I was a young child, I was 11 or 12 years old. He says, at that time we were living in the city of Najaf. While we were in the city of Najaf, one day, my mother, she tells me that it's the time for lunch. I want you to go and wake up your father who's upstairs in his study. He was busy studying. Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, he says, I went upstairs in order to wake up my father. When I went upstairs, I see that my father, he has fallen asleep while he was in that state of study. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but when you had that test, and you know, it's whenever you have something big going on, that you become really sleepy and tired and you just can't keep those eyes open anymore. But he had fallen asleep on top of his books. Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, at that time he's a young boy, 11, 12. He says, I looked at him and I began to think that on one hand, my mother has told me to come and wake up my father. But on the other hand, my father is sleeping. He's resting. He says, what if I wake up my father and he becomes upset at me? He says, my son, why did you even wake me up? I didn't want to eat lunch. How old is he? 11 or 12. He's stuck in this dilemma where he's thinking, I'm stuck between disobeying my mother and perhaps hurting my father. He's sitting there, what in the world should I do so that I can please both of them? He says, I was in a state of thought. I'm standing there thinking to myself, what do I do? He says, eventually I came to the conclusion that there's one way I can go about this. What is it? He says, I went forward and I began to kiss my father. Very gently, I'm kissing my father. He says, my father, he wakes up from his state of sleep. He sees what I am doing. He sees this display of affection that I am showing. And he says that he raises his hands in dua. He begins to do dua for me. One dua after another dua after another dua. He is praying for this young son of his, this 11, 12-year-old. Do you know what Ayatollah Marashi Najafi says? He says that throughout my life I have seen the fulfillment of each and every dua which my father performed for me on that day. My brothers and sisters, how many people are there that go to the hawza? Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. How many of them are highly studious? Many. How many of them are highly spiritual? Many. You have some excellent individuals, they're applying themselves. But when we look at the history of Islam, how many scholars do we have like Ayatollah Marashi Najafi? Very few. Very few. When we look at Islam, this world of creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, that alongside that world of physical cause and effect, there is the world of the metaphysical cause and effect. And just like we have to work through that world of the physical, we also have to pay attention to the metaphysical as well. My brothers and sisters, it is the nights of Muharram. One of our greatest hopes, one of our greatest desires is that through our efforts on these nights, through our mourning for Imam Hussein, the tears that we are going to cry for Imam Hussein, one of our hopes is that we will become worthy of being one of the companions of our Imam when he comes. It's why we're here. One of the ways, one of the doorways which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to me and you is the doorway of serving our parents. Becoming worthy of serving with your Imam, it is not something which only happens through the salat or the salatul layl or the fasting or these kinds of ibadah. Those things are important, but it is actions like these which have the potential to catapult us in spirituality. May Allah give us, each and every one of us, this tawfiq of really utilizing our mothers, our fathers, before they are taken from us, inshaAllah. My brothers and sisters, let us take our hearts to Karbala. 2 days ago we went over the story of a man by the name of Hur. And one of the things which I mentioned is that the story of Hur, the story of that sinner who has hurt the heart of his Imam, is really the story of each and every one of us. One of the things that we know is that every Friday which passes, the actions which we have performed, the good and the evil which we have performed, it gets sent to the Imam of our time. And it is narrated that when the Imam receives the good that we have done, he becomes overjoyed. But when he receives the evil, the sins, it breaks his heart. It hurts him. When we were going over the story of Hur, I mentioned that it's really our story. The story of that individual who has hurt his Imam, who has hurt the cause of the Ahlul Bayt. Tonight, I wanted to go over the story of another individual who is again very much like us. And this is an individual by the name of Zuhair ibn Qayn. Who is Zuhair ibn Qayn? It is mentioned that Zuhair ibn Qayn is one of the companions of Imam Hussein who was killed on the day of Ashura. When we look at the story of Zuhair ibn Qayn, we find that he was a pious individual. He was a good individual. He prayed and he fasted and he sacrificed in the cause of Islam. And during the events of Karbala, before Karbala is taking place, it is narrated that Zuhair ibn Qayn had gone on the Hajj pilgrimage. When his Hajj pilgrimage finishes, my brothers and sisters, he begins to travel back to the land of Iraq. He was essentially from Iraq. As he was traveling back to the land of Iraq, he begins to travel side by side alongside of the caravan of Abu Abdullah. He begins to travel alongside the caravan of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But Zuhair ibn Qayn, he begins to act in a very strange way. It is narrated that as he was traveling alongside, he was careful that whenever Imam Hussein would stop for that day, for that night to camp, Zuhair ibn Qayn would always be careful that he would never stop in the same place. He would go a little bit further and then he would stop. Why? It's been narrated that even though Zuhair ibn Qayn was a good person, a pious person, he had sacrificed in the cause of Islam, he knew what Imam Hussein was doing. He knew where Imam Hussein was going, and he knew what was going to happen to Imam Hussein in just a few days' time. He knows that this is going to lead to the killing of Imam Hussein and his companions. That love which he had for dunya, that love which was in his heart, it just wouldn't allow him to camp in the same place of Imam Hussein, because he knew, if I camp in this place, the Imam is going to ask me, "Oh Zuhair, you have served Islam for many years, come and serve in our cause." If Abu Abdullah asks him that, how would I respond? What do I say to him? If I say yes, I'm going to be killed. If I say no, I am saying no to the son of Zahra. I am saying no to the grandson of the Holy Prophet. What do I do? Every night he continues on the way. He doesn't stop where Imam Hussein is stopping. Eventually, my brothers and sisters, the time comes when there is just one well. Zuhair ibn Qayn and the caravan that he is with, his family members, his wife, he doesn't have a choice but to camp in the same place as Imam Hussein. But he still goes a little bit of a distance and he camps there. The Imam camps there as well. It's narrated that as Zuhair ibn Qayn and his family members, his tribe, they begin to eat, a messenger arrives from Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The messenger says, "Ya Zuhair, answer the call of Abu Abdullah. Answer his call. He is calling upon you." It's mentioned that when Zuhair hears this, he freezes. He's about to put food into his mouth. His hand freezes. He's not able to move. All of his family members, they freeze. They know exactly what this moment means. His wife is looking. The wife of Zuhair ibn Qayn is looking. She sees him hesitating. There is a pause. She looks at him and she says, "Ya Zuhair, do you not have any shame? The son of Zahra, the grandson of the Holy Prophet, he's calling upon you and you're sitting? You're not answering the call of Abu Abdullah? What is wrong with you? Answer his call." Zuhair ibn Qayn, he stands up. He's upset. He's not happy with what is happening. He doesn't want to go, but he feels ashamed. He goes to the camp of Imam Hussein. He sits with Imam Hussein. My brothers and sisters, we don't know what was said in that gathering. We don't know what Imam Hussein tells Zuhair. But when Zuhair ibn Qayn, he leaves that gathering, it is narrated that he is overjoyed. His face is beaming. He is unbelievably happy. He comes towards his family members. He begins to write his will. He begins to tell people of how they should take care of his children. He tells people of who should take care of his wife on the return journey. He begins to prepare himself. He's going to join the camp of Imam Hussein. That love that he had for dunya, it's been removed through the barakah of Imam Hussein. He's helped him overcome that difficulty. As he is about to leave, his wife rushes towards him. She latches onto his clothing. She says, Ya Zuhair, you are going to a place where you are going to gain the intercession of the Holy Prophet. You are going to gain the intercession of Fatima Zahra. I am holding onto your clothes so that on the day of judgment, I too can receive the intercession of these holy individuals. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bifanaik. Alaykum minni salamullah أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار الصلوات.
Brothers, if you could please stand for the لطمیه. برادران اگر صف ببندن برای سینه زنی. Tonight's the eve of the 6th of Muharram. In the Iranian culture, at least, it's tradition to commemorate Qasim, the son of Imam al-Hassan, on this night. What a test is about to come for the lonely love of Zahra. What a test is about to come for the lonely love of Zahra. To the tent of Mawla Hussein comes the dear son of Mujtaba. What a test is about to come for the lonely love of Zahra. To the tent of Mawla Hussein comes the dear son of Mujtaba. Oh, no armor fits me, no armor I need. Let my body bleed for my dear Mawla. How can I let go of you, son? What will I say to my brother? How can I let go of you, son? What will I say to my brother? Oh, uncle, if I do not go, how can I face your mother, Ya Abu Abdullah, Abu Abdullah, Abu Abdullah, everyone, Ya Abu Abdullah, Abu Abdullah. Dear Qasim, now right to battle, no fear on him so fiercely. Dear Qasim, now right to battle, no fear on him so fiercely, letting the world know that he's the son of Hassan, son of Ali. Oh, death does not scare me. Don't you know for me, death is sweeter than the sweetest honey. Come see how my father fought at the fields of Jamal and Siffin. Come see how my father fought at the fields of Jamal and Siffin. Come see how Hassan still lives and beautifies this battle scene. Ya Abu Abdullah, Abu Abdullah, Abu Abdullah, Ya
امام حسین مقتدایم حسین، امام حسین مقتدایم حسین، تمامی عالم فدای حسین، تمامی عالم فدای حسین، امامم حسین مقتدایم حسین، همه زمزمه کنند امامم حسین مقتدایم حسین، تمامی عالم فدای حسین، تمامی عالم فدای حسین. چرا تمامی عالم فدای حسین؟ عزیزان فراموش نکنید امام حسین لا اله الا الله رو زندگی کرد. امام حسین لا اله الا الله رو به ما یاد داد. امامم حسین مقتدایم حسین، امامم حسین مقتدایم حسین، تمامی عالم فدای حسین، تمامی عالم فدای حسین. حسینان امام همه عاشقان، حسینان امام همه عاشقان، همه عاشقانم فدای حسین، همه عاشقانم فدای حسین. امیری حسینم و نعم الامیر، امیری حسین و نعم الامیر امیری حسین و نعم الامیر امیری حسین و نعم همه بگن امیری امیری حسین و نعم الامیر امامم حسین مقتدایم حسین امامم حسین مقتدایم حسین تمامی عالم فدای حسین تمامی عالم فدای حسین حسینان امام همه عاشقان حسینان امام همه عاشقان همه عاشقانم فدای حسین همه عاشقانم فدای حسین امیری حسین امیری حسین نمونه حسین و نعم الامیر آن کسی که آیه ها را خوانده بود آن کسی که آیه ها را خوانده بود همچو قرآن پاک و خالص گشته بود همچو قرآن پاک و خالص گشته آن کسی که شعله های وحی را آن کسی که شعله های وحی را مادرش در قلب او افکنده بود مادرش در قلب او افکنده بود ماشاءالله آن کسی که آیه ها را خوانده بود آن کسی که آیه ها را خوانده بود همچو قرآن پاک و خالص گشته بود همچو قرآن پاک و خالص گشته بود آن کسی که شعله های وحی را آن کسی که شعله های وحی را مادرش در قلب او افکنده بود مادرش در قلب او افکنده بود آن کسی که خلق و خویش حیدری آن کسی که خلق و خویش حیدری عالمی از لطف او شرمنده بود عالمی از لطف او شرمنده بود آن کسی که در مسیر زندگی آن کسی که در مسیر زندگی هر نفس تنها خدا را بنده بود هر نفس تنها خدا را بنده بود او که مانند بشر جنس زمین او که مانند بشر جنس زمین لیک از حد زمین بگذشته بود لیک از حد زمین بگذشته بود او امام و پیشوای عاشقان او امام و پیشوای عاشقان جان برای عدل و داد آورده بود جان برای عدل و داد آورده بود بر مشام جان رسد بوی ماه عاشقی بر مشام جان رسد بوی ماه عاشقی بوی ماه بندگی بوی دلدادگی بوی دلدادگی بر مشام جان رسد عطر خاک کربلا صوت قرآن حسین شعر آزادگی شعر آزادگی باز این شورش است در خلق عالم است ماه فدا شدن ماه عبادت است ماه شکفتن است ماه نجابت است ماه جنون عشق ماه محرم است ماه محرم است ماه رشادت است ماه شهامت است ماه مبارزه با ظلم و ظلمت است ماه طلوع حق ماه حقیقت است ماه رهایی از زندان عالم است ماه رهایی از زندان عالم است آزادگی شعار روشنگری پیام آزادگی شعار روشنگری پیام سالار عاشقی در راه دلبر است سالار عاشقی در راه دلبر است حسین سفینة النجا حسین سفینة النجا حسین سفینة النجا حسین سفینة النجا یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا غریبه به خدا حسین غریبه 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 همه بگن غریبه به خدا حسین غریبه غریبه به خدا به مظلومه به خدا حسین مظلومه مظلومه به خدا حسین مظلومه مظلومه به خدا حسین مظلومه مظلومه به خدا حسین کی دیگه غریبه غریبه خدای خدا غریبه غریبه خدای خدا غریبه غریبه خدای خدا غریبه غریبه خدای خدا غریبه غریبه چون که ما عاشقش نشدیم غریبه چون که ما عاشقش نشدیم غریبه بنده لایقش نشدیم غریبه رهرو صادقش نشدیم امون ز غفلت امون ز تهمت از دست ما تو غیبت حضرت حجت گناه شد عادت غیبت عبادت جالبینه گذاشتیم سر خدا هم منت هر جا ریا شد اسم خدا شد همه دکان وا کرده ایم حتی تو هیئت چیا ببینه دل سیاه یا رو زبون اللهم ارزقنا شهادت از امر به معروف ترسیدیم، حاجی و دور شیطان گردیدیم، همسایه یتیم و سیر خوابیدیم، همسایه یتیم و سیر خوابیدیم، ما به زمین خورده خندیدیم. خدا نفهمیدیم، خدا نفهمیدیم، خدا نفهمیدیم، خدا نفهمیدیم. خدای خدا غریبه، خدای خدا غریبه، خدای خدا خدای خدا غریبه، چون که راحت گناه کردیم. غریبه، چون که راحت گناه کردیم. غریبه، به نامحرم نگاه کردیم. غریبه، نام فقط سیاه کردیم. فروختیم ایمان، خریدیم نان، خاک میخوره به روی تاقچه هامون قرآن. فروختیم ایمان، خریدیم نان، خاک میخوره به روی تاقچه هامون قرآن. سحر نهالی نه خمس مالی، اسممونم گذاشتیم عبد شاه مردان. شیعه حرفی آدم برفی، هنوز نمک نخورده میشکنیم نمکدان. دهه محرم به سینه و سر میزنیم و دور شدیم از راه شهیدان. بگو خدا غرق امیدم کن، بی خریدارم خریدم کن، پیش حسین و سفیدم کن، نظر ابوالفضل رشیدم کن. خدا شهیدم کن، خدا شهیدم کن، خدا شهیدم کن، خدا شهیدم کن. خدای حسین غریبه، خدای حسین غریبه. امام حسین اون موقع غریب نبودا، امام حسین همین امروز هم غریبه. از محرم پارسال تا امسال اگه عوض نشدیم امام حسین غریبه. خدای حسین غریبه، خدای حسین غریبه، خدای خدا غریبه، خدای خدا غریبه، خدای خدا غریبه، خدای خدا غریبه. غریبه که دوستش داریم واسه حاجت. غریبه که دوستش داریم واسه حاجت. غریبه میپرستیمش برا جنت. غریبه که به تنهایی کرده عادت. غریبه که دوستش داریم واسه حاجت. غریبه که دوستش داریم واسه حاجت. غریبه میپرستیمش برا جنت. غریبه که به تنهایی کرده عادت. تو راه پاکی زدیم به خاکی، چه عاشقی چه مجنونی چه سینه چاکی. دیگه شیطان شد یا که نبود، ببین خدا رو ول کردیم میگردیم باکی. بگو خدا رحمی به حالم کن، لکه ننگم زلالم کن، عشق خودت رو نثارم کن، منو شبیه امامم کن خدا حلالم کن خدا حلالم کن. اگه نمیایم تو مجلس ابا عبدالله یه قدم به خدا نزدیک شیم. خدا حلالم کن خدا به تو از دور سلام. عزیزان رو به قبله بشن. به تو از دور سلام. به سلیمان جهان از طرف نور سلام. به تو از دور سلام. به تو از دور سلام. به امام عاشقان از طرف بنده ناجور سلام. به امام عاشقان از طرف بنده ناجور سلام. السلام علیک یا ابا عبدالله و الارواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعل الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم همه با هم. السلام باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأفضل الأجل الأكرم إلهي بمحمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين وتسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين وبدماء شهدائنا وبإمام زماننا يا الله 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 يا رحمن يا رحيم يا أرحم الراحمين يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك واكفنا يا قاضي الحاجات ويا كافي المهمات. إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك غافر الذنب والخطيئات إنك على كل شيء قدير. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أما بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كن لوليك الحجة الحسن صلواتك وفي كل صار وليا وحافظا وغافرا وتمتعوا فيها طويلا برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين. حمد شفا رو هم عزیزان برای شفای بیماران همه با هم بخونیم. اعوذ بالله من الشیطان الرجیم بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم الحمد لله رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق الله العلي العظيم.